Hello. All right. So back in September, I think it was, the sister that comes by my house and really is trying her best to get me to come back. She invited me to a meeting, and I had not been to a meeting in a really long time. Like I said, I think I've been to one memorial since 91 or so. But she mentioned the circuit overseer was coming, and it seemed like anytime I had conversations with her that I would bring up how things used to be and the things that I'm opposed to, she was constantly doing the, oh, it's not like that anymore. I don't think she's trying to bullshit me. I think that she's just like any of the witnesses, that she really believes things have changed, things are better. So I ended up going, and so the circuit overseer, well, as the name implies, he's over a certain circuit of congregations. I know they have eliminated some things, but no, this was definitely a circuit overseer. So it took everything in me. I was back and forth. I kept procrastinating and telling my husband, I got homework to do, because he was like, oh, you should go. He's never been a Jehovah's Witness, but he finds all of this, and even some of the ways that it's affecting me as I'm doing more research into things that are still going on that I didn't realize were still going on. He finds it somewhat amusing. I think it's because there's a little rebel in him and he likes a cause. So he was really pushing for me to go. I really wanted to, but it's a weird thing to explain. I was petrified. I was terrified to go. And I kept thinking the same thing, these people don't have any control over me. It's been God, I'm 43, I think now, and it's been over 20 years, 25 years, and I don't know, it brings out a lot of emotion, and I don't know, there's some kind of PTSD in there. It really brings you back, and it makes you, there's just kind of this hold, and it makes you feel a little bit like maybe I'm doing something wrong, even though you're not. So anyhow, I decided to go. The sister had actually texted me earlier that day and said, hey, the first part of the talk is actually more aimed towards kids, so you don't bother coming. It's not really something you'd probably be interested in. And I was like, yeah, no, you're wrong. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I want to hear what the kids are being told, because what I relate most to is what I was told and raised on. So I definitely wanted to be there. That kind of motivated me a little bit more, because I have a thing about kids and protecting kids, and I'm a cheerleader for children. Although I don't tell people that openly. Mostly I tell them that I hate your children, get them away from me. I've already paid my dues. No, I just wanted to see what the kids were being taught. And so the age group, not counting babies and toddlers, you easily from like 3-year-olds to 8-year-olds, all being told this information, and they don't discriminate on age. When they're talking about masturbation and touching yourself, they're telling it to the 3-year-olds are right there, the 5-year-olds, the 7-year-olds who are listening into it while they're sitting next to their grandma. Not awkward at all. That's not the part I'm going to go over, because there's 3 parts that really bothered me. The part I want to talk about is education. So the woman who comes and witnesses with me, while I am trying to unwitness with her, she knows that I am in school, and it takes up quite a bit of my time. I work full-time on top of it, so my evenings and weekends are usually dedicated to school, and it's a lot of hours. And so when she first came by, I said, if I don't answer the door, or if she come up to my garage and I put my hand up, walk away, because I'm probably testing or I'm studying, whatever it is, I'm not dealing with you. So she doesn't come by very often, and when she does, I'm often busy. And if I want to have a conversation, I want to actually have a conversation. In schooling, if anybody of you have been to school or in school, it's very time consuming. So she always praises, she always brings somebody different with her, and she's like, oh, this is Cass. She's one of the busiest and smartest people I know. She's going to school. Yeah, continuing her education. Isn't that great? Now, the first time she said this, They don't encourage that. For a little second, I was like, well, maybe they've changed that. That's fine. There's 50,000 other things they still need to change. But I'm going to share this as a piece as to how they can be deceptive. And so she just last time again, and what are you going to school for, Cass? And I tell her, and oh, that's very time consuming, and wow, that's a lot of hard work. And they speak to you as if they value education and as if education is important and that they really can relate to how important that is and the hard work that you're putting in. And they make it sound like they back it up. This is something that they feel is also should be a priority, or at least something to be proud of. So I really wanted to go, and what I learned very quickly, and that's I'm going to actually play a portion of the talk from September 23rd from the circuit overseer, and their thoughts, what they actually believe about school. And I will tell you, although I'll probably repeat myself afterwards, actually I'm just going to play it and kind of give my commentary on it. And for any of you who, again, are studying with the witnesses, plan on not getting an education. That's something I was taught. I actually, if I had not continued studies on my own as an adult, I was actually pulled out of school. I'd finished half of the 9th grade. And so that's something that had always bothered me and weighed on me. And I rectified that myself later on, but it's still something that I find of great importance. So this particular talk, they talk about the right kind of goals to have and the kinds of goals you should not have. And
what does the Bible, though, say about pursuing worthwhile goals and avoiding the worldly ones, the ones that, as we see on the monitors, can clutter our way through life?
So I don't have a visual of the monitors because obviously I was just secretly recording this, but there was somewhat of a pathway, and they had like diplomas on there and books, which is the main thing I'm talking about. They had some other things on there, but there was clearly a diploma up on the monitor. Let me turn this up. I can't hear it very well. Okay.
Please turn to 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 through 17.
I just have to point this out really quick. So this is the Bible I grew up with. And apparently this is the Bible that I was given when I went to the meeting. And apparently they have revised the Bible quite a bit, and I've already done some research on it and some things, but yeah, just had to insert that in there. So if you happen to be following along, you can read in whichever Bible you want, but they sum up pretty quickly what they're trying to get to.
1 John chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. It says, "Do not love either the world or the things in the world." And we could say, and the goals that it promotes.
I'm sorry, that just bothers me. We could say, and the goals it promotes. The Bible says, do not love the world or the things in the world, but they're going to now ad-lib a little bit to make it shape what they're trying to explain and what they want you to believe it says. We want to avoid the goals the world promotes. And one of those worldly goals, higher education. But you can hear it for yourself. Hold on.
Because if anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Why? Because everything in the world, the desire of the flesh and the desire of the eyes and the showy display of one's means of life does not originate with the Father, but originates with the world. Furthermore, the world is passing away, and so is its desire. But the one who does the will of God remains forever. The world that's spoken about in verse 15 is identifying Satan's unrighteous human society. and the goals that they promote.
So please remember, when they get to it, the people who are pursuing these goals are Satan's unrighteous society. I have a terrible memory. Yeah.
And as you look at the picture, you'll notice some of the goals that are ones that are popular among many people today. From the time that they're young ones, they're striving to reach these goals. But to achieve them, what do you need to do? You always need higher education. Limit your relationships with other people. Don't let anything stand in the way of achieving those.
See, right there, that sounds to me like he was just describing Jehovah's Witnesses and becoming a Jehovah's Witness. You don't want anything to stand in your way of achieving that goal. But you'll note what he's talking about with these worldly goals and Satan's goals, higher education. So remember, I was just saying the woman was just at my house because I was going to school. But that's not really how she felt. That's not what her belief system supports. They do not agree with higher education. And they'll explain why.
Goals, even if it means having less time or association with your own family members. And certainly there's no room for spirituality or a relationship with God. Did you notice in the verses, if you look back at them and compare it even to what we see on this path that's cluttered with all these worldly goals, there are 3 reasons why we as young ones do not want to love the world or what it promotes. First, we become an enemy of God.
If you pursue higher education, you're becoming an enemy of God. This is what your children are taught in this cult. And this is pounded into them continually. Going to school, higher education, enemy of God.
Second, it leads to us becoming an egomaniac.
An education makes you an egomaniac. I will say that does it for some people, but in general.
Always wanting something more for ourselves or promoting ourselves. Think of the first egomaniac who decided to pursue goals that were selfish. Satan the devil. How is it working out for?
Could it be Satan? So now it goes a step further. Getting a higher education. Follower of Satan. Now you're compared to Satan. Going to school gives you an inflated ego. You're now Satan the devil. It's like 7-year-olds listening to this. 11-year-olds. I mean, I get it. 4-year-olds aren't really paying attention. They're like, sweet. That 17-year-olds are like, yes, please, let me drop out now. But realistically, what are they being taught?
Satan. How is his life going? Never would we want to be on the same path as one of those that's an enemy, that has made themselves an opponent of Jehovah. And finally, when the verses say the world is passing away, there's the 3rd reason we don't get involved in worldly goals. Because anything pursued in this world is only temporary. It's like a dead man walking, going from his prison cell to the execution chamber. That's where this world is heading. And it's about to be concluded completely as Jehovah brings destruction upon it. So how about for you young ones? Do you think it sounds reasonable to try and build a secure future in a world that is doomed to destruction? Now contrast that with the one who the verses say is doing the will of Jehovah, pursuing real goals in life, doing as 1 Timothy 6:19 says, building a fine foundation for the future, holding on to the real life, which the Bible uses to refer to everlasting life and perfect health, peace, happiness, and paradise. By pursuing these kind of goals, full-time service, active in the ministry, learning foreign languages.
A full-time service, being active in the ministry, learning foreign languages so that you can continue spreading their... is more important than getting an education, because if you get an education, you are an opponent of God. What's interesting is this talk is talking about worldly goals, and they keep saying goals like it's plural. But you notice they're only talking about higher education. So worldly goals, what are your goals in this world? It's instilled in you at a very young age. Sorry, it's getting really cold out here. School is bad. Full-time ministry is good. I mean, they might as well. School is evil. School is the devil. So many references in my head. School is the devil, Bobby Boucher. So that's what Jehovah's Witnesses teach their kids. I don't think there was much left in here.
Theocratic construction projects.
Yeah. Construction projects, super important. Those are the things you should dedicate yourself to, which is why a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are plumbers, carpenters, electricians, painters, etc. Which is nothing wrong with those jobs. What I'm just saying is they limit the people in their congregation from having an education so that they can use them as free labor for their churches. They also believe that when the new world comes, we won't have need for higher education, things like doctors, because there will be no illness, no lawyers, because we won't have litigation. But we're going to need carpenters, painters, etc. And so little kids from a very, very young age are brainwashed and told over and over again, school is the devil, school is bad. Go out in service, build congregations.
At Bethel, benefiting from theocratic schools. Those are spiritual goals that you young ones can realize now that will help you to achieve real success and happiness. What's more, they're not leading to blessings that are only temporary, but they will lead to being able to serve Jehovah, potentially having a career serving him for an eternity.
Sorry, I have to stop it again. A career serving him. Just know that when you have a career serving him, you don't get paid. You get some lodging, I believe, in some cases, and allowance, but most people who make a career out of serving him, you don't get paid.
So continue, young ones, to develop qualities that are precious to Jehovah. Continue, parents and grandparents, to encourage young ones to pursue these worthwhile goals that will always bring them happiness and success in life. As we learn these things in pursuing goals in Jehovah's service, we'll learn valuable lessons and qualities that cannot be learned at any university or college that's part of Satan's world today. Well, for all of you young ones, we want for you to be able to take action so that you can have a happy future. And we've talked about ways that Jehovah...
Okay, enough of that. So, as much as the sister who visits me or anybody else might say, well, we've changed that, we don't allow that. And you will find witnesses that have an education. The sister that visits me has a degree, but I believe she strayed, got a degree, and came back. You will find people that have degrees, and it's usually people who become witnesses after they've already done their schooling. The ones that I am worried about and who suffer the most are kids who are brought into the organization, during grade school, while they're in school, and it's pumped into their head. Even as much as their teachers are saying, well, you're very, very, very smart, Sally. You should consider going to college. Wow, you're an intellect. You're a good critical thinker. These are all things that Jehovah's Witnesses do not encourage, and they will counter that when they get home. There was another piece which I don't think I will be able to find, or maybe I'll try to find it tomorrow. The governing body on JW Broadcast, which is produced monthly, and the witnesses watch it, and it's members of the governing body who basically give talks similar to the one I just shared with you, and it's astounding how much they talk about the negativities and why you don't want your kids to go and get in higher education, because the teachers there are basically going to teach them to think for themselves, get into their ear, and basically undo all these Jehovah's Witness principles, and they don't want that. So they need to keep them safe and away from the rest of the world, including getting an education. Yeah. So that's their stance. And I wanted to add this. Aside from informing, that is still a teaching going on. It's been going on forever. I don't care what they say. Last week or earlier this week, Leah Remini did her special, the Scientology Aftermath on Jehovah's Witnesses. And the next day there was an aftermath after party live with the panelists that were on the show. I'm horrible with people's names. I haven't had a chance to even go back and watch it again, although I have it on DVR so I can watch it forever because it was a great episode. But the next day, one of the women who was a former Jehovah's Witness was talking about her frustration about education, and that kind of the way that she put it, because again, A, I wish I could remember her name, I don't right now, and B, I don't want to misquote her, but it was along the lines of, she says, you know, I went without an education, I was taught not to go to school, and she says, here I am at my age, I'm supposed to be saving now for my future, I'm supposed to be saving for retirement, and how do I go back to school? Like, it all costs money. Like, this should be a time that part of my life should be already taken care of, and I should be, you know, in my working career and saving for the future. And it does feel like that. It can feel that way. But I want to say to any ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, it is never too late. I feel like I have the longest running associates ever. It took me, I want to say, like 6 to 8 years. I'm leaning towards the 8-year side. It's very slow going. And then eventually I did that, and then I did my bachelor's, and now I'm working on my master's. And I'm no spring chick, but you can still do it. You can get financial aid. You can apply for scholarships. You could pay for it out of pocket or get federal loans. One of my kids actually doesn't like the idea of debt. I'd say 1.5. Well, none of them like the idea of debt. My one daughter that just literally, when she gets up enough money to take a class, she takes a class. And she takes her time, you know, so that might work for you. It's never too late. And for those of us who are former adult Jehovah's Witnesses, one of the greatest things we have to be proud of is that we did not rob our children of their education. So I'm very proud that I have 4 adult kids, adult people, who, I even if they wanted to do a trade, I'm glad that they are pursuing and they have made available to them the ability to continue educating themselves if they so choose. And to understand that is, lost my train of thought. It's just something for me to be very proud of, and I believe a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who got out and raised their children away from the cult, it brings a great amount of pride to know that they were not robbed in that same way. So I think that's where I'm going to end it, and I will talk to you later.
I'm on the television.